Next up is outlining strokes. Let's switch to artboard number 5 and we see our starting pieces and our final object. And the nice thing is when you hover over, you can see all these different shapes that are stacked up together. So you can probably guess we're going to take this piece over here and turn it into this. When you hover over this, what looks to be a rectangle in the start file, and actually click on it, let's do a fit to window after you do that. Command 0, or actually let's just zoom in on that piece. I want you to notice that there aren't anchors at all 4 corners. There's no bounding box. This is just one line. And if we look over at our properties panel, we'll see that it is indeed just a line, but it has a huge stroke on it. It has 20 points. So there's 10 points on each side of the line. This is a little bit different. So a path, like a line, can show a stroke color, but not a fill color by default. So if we create a line in Illustrator and we want to apply both a stroke and a fill, we have to turn it into an outline. So we have to take this stroke and tell it to outline the whole shape. That's going to convert it into a closed shape or a compound path. So we're now going to take this stroke, we're going to outline it, we're going to erase a few parts of it, and we're going to make the plant that we just saw in the last, in the image to the right. So with the selection tool, we're going to click on this as we already have, and we're going to go up to Object, and then we're going to choose Path, and we're going to choose Outline the Stroke. Now notice we have anchors and lines connecting it. It's now a path and it has a purple fill and no stroke. Before it was just a line with a 20-point stroke of purple on it. So we've turned it into a closed path. All right, we are going to, I have to zoom out, I'm a little too close. We're going to drag this down into position, down on this other piece of art down here, and then I'm going to zoom in again. So we've moved it down and we're going to modify it using the eraser. So the eraser tool is nested in our knife and scissor. It was actually the first one there. So we're going to switch to the eraser tool. This tool is going to allow us to erase. We can use it on paths, compound paths, paths inside paint groups, and clipping content. So whatever artwork you select is the only artwork you're going to erase. So if I use the eraser and I'm really messy through here, I'm only going to be affecting this rectangle shape because it's selected. I won't affect these pieces over here. If nothing is selected, if all objects are deselected, anything that it touches will be erased. So now that we have the eraser tool, we're going to come back to it in the toolbar and we're going to double click on it. And a lot of your tools over there, when you double click, you get a pop-up window where you're able to change the how the tool works. So we can have it at an angle, a roundness, and a size. We're just going to change our size to be 20 points, so it's a much bigger eraser, and say OK. We're going to hold our cursor up above. I have to zoom out a step here. Hold our cursor up above, and we're basically going to click and drag down the left side of this to erase off some parts. So I'm going to try to give it, come on, whoops, of course it works now. I'm just going to try to round it, and notice how it looks like I'm erasing other parts. Once I let go of my cursor, I can see that it truly only affected the piece that I had selected, so no need to worry. Once you've done that, we're going to go on the other side and cut it down as well. All right, you may have done a better job than I did, but at any rate, I did make a shape. I'm going to use my selection tool and kind of move it into position here a little bit better. I got a little too good with it down there on the bottom. There we go. And I'm going to group it into one shape. So this was a line. We basically turned it into a rectangle by outlining it, and then using the eraser tool, we smoothed off some corners, and by doing that, Illustrator automatically added the anchor points that were necessary when I cut off parts of the shape. So with your selection tool, let's marquee the whole thing and group it. And then we'll be able to move that as well. So that was erasing kind of in a freeform manner, or getting around edges. We can also erase in a straight line, which is what we're going to do next. So switch to Artboard 6 to see the Jeep or the minivan or whatever this thing is. Whoops. And you can tell something that we're going to do over here is it looks like there's an angle right here, whereas ours is not angled. So with our selection tool, we're going to drag across the pink, purple, and dark pink over here. So basically we're just going to make a marquee in this area. You can see in your book it kind of shows you where to do that. So with the selection tool, we're going to drag in these pieces. I'm not touching the bar on top of the truck. I'm not touching the hitch on the back. I'm just selecting the pink, dark pink, and purple. And by doing that, it puts a bounding box around it. So we can tell that this pink shape is probably, really big. It's this whole piece right here. Purple shape seems to be just this one, and the light pink is all the way out here. So that's why our bounding box is so big. All right, I'm going to zoom in on that side a little bit. Oops. And then you can deselect it. Nope. I take that back. Let's grab that again. So just these three pieces so that we have light pink, purple, and dark pink. We're going to double click on our eraser tool to modify it again, and we're going to make it even bigger. So we're going to make it 40 points this time and say okay. Notice how much bigger it got. And with the eraser tool, we're going to move the pointer above our selected shapes, and we're going to put it up in the area up here by the, what are these things called? The roof doodad. How's that? I can't come up with words today. We're going to put our cursor up in this area, and we're going to hold the Shift key, and we're going to drag at a 45-degree angle down and to the left. So we're going to start dragging, hold our Shift key, and why am I not? Ignore that. Undo. Shift. There we go. Hold the Shift key before you start erasing clearly. I'm going to undo one more time. Start up here. Hold Shift. Now click and drag. Yes, apparently we have to hold the Shift key first. Still don't like where it's positioned. And I have my caps lock on. I'm not sure if you guys did, but I'm turning that off. And I'll start here, Shift, click, drag. Oh boy, Shift. There we go. All right, at long last, I got it. Sometimes I like to keep all of my flubs in these movies so you can see how much fun it is. So basically the eraser tool, position it where you want it to be, press the Shift key, and then start dragging. If nothing is erased, try again, and it may look like you erased other parts of the car, but since other parts weren't selected, we're safe because we only had these three pieces selected, not the hitch, not the top of the roof thing. It's only going to erase on what we had selected. All right, once you've turned that into a cool looking Jeep, look at that, now my roof rack is off the edge. Oh well. We're going to deselect everything and then just marquee select the entire vehicle and group it over here in the quick actions on the right. Let's click away and let's do a save at this point. Do a file, save as, and again, if you want to keep track of where you are in the book, by page number, I'm going to do Happy Camper, and that got us through page 125. And save.